We know that Ashes cricket is just about a couple of months away. Why is that? Because there is a lot of banter from the Australian and the England players in the build up to it. Every Ashes series is punctuated with a lot of banter, a lot of mudslinging, maybe you can say, about from both Australia and England, because after all, this is the 146th year of this epic rivalry, that is the Ashes. However, there have been some confounding statements, but Stuart Broad takes the cake with his most bizarre statement that he's given on the Ashes. Yes, England are high on confidence because of their baseball approach now. They have only lost about 2 tests prior to this. But now, Stuart Broad has made a very startling claim and a most bizarre claim on the 2021 Ashes series. 2020-2021, which England lost 4-0, by the way. He says, that was not a real series. It is a void series for me. I don't count that at all. Why has Stuart Broad made such a bizarre claim heading into this 2023 Ashes? Because in an interview that he gave with one of the newspapers in England, he said that Australia's 4-0 win in the 2020-2021 Ashes was not a real Ashes win. COVID-19 restrictions made it void. He argued that yes, in an Ashes series there is plenty of intensity, energy, tension, there is a lot of competitiveness that was there. But here he said that 2020-2021 was not a real Ashes win. It was because COVID-19 restrictions that both teams were subjected to, it made it void. So what was Broad's exact quote? This is it. I don't class 2020-2021 as a real Ashes series. Definition of Ashes cricket is elite sport with lots of passion and players at the top of their game. He goes on to say, nothing was high level performance because of COVID restrictions, training facilities, travel, not been able to socialize. I have written it off as a void series. Now remember, in 2020-2021, there was a problem with the Ashes because it was held under the most extreme of circumstances. Australia had the toughest COVID-19 restrictions in place alongside New Zealand. Now, at that point in time, England's players were coming for the Ashes that was already ruined by heavy rainfall in their build-up. There was a report and speculation that their partners, their travel partners, may not be allowed to come. And that threatened a boycott. So, if you remember, prior to Brisbane, the players had made it very clear that if Australia did not allow the families to come and they did not ease off the restrictions in a way, they would not play the Ashes. Players had threatened to withdraw if the families were not allowed. They were also unhappy with the quarantine conditions, and they were not the first team to be unhappy with the quarantine conditions, because if you remember, even in that 2021-2022 series, when India had come, they were subject to severe quarantine facilities under different states. New South Wales had a different quarantine policy, Queensland had a different quarantine policy, South Australia and Victoria had extreme, quarantine policy. So England were not unhappy with that. Every state that they went, they were subject to different quarantine measures. Boxing Day test was impacted by COVID-19. You remember on day 2 and day 3, there was some delay in action. The play started about half an hour to 45 minutes late because COVID had run through the entire England team. But remember, at that time it was extreme. Even India faced the brunt of the COVID situation, but they came out on top. So why did England have to complain about it at this point in time? That is a very bizarre claim indeed. Yes, you can argue that COVID took a toll on the players' health. Yes, England were impacted much more in that. COVID does stand up in that, but otherwise their performance was absolutely shambolic. Because England have not won an Ashes series since 2015. It's now their 8th year. You would go back to the 1980s and the 1990s, in which they didn't win the Ashes for 16 years, 1989 to 2005. Australia drew the previous series that they had played in England. It was 2-2. Ashes 2023 will begin on June 16th, and that's why 16th till now you hardly have 2 plus 31 plus 16. You have 49 days. Prior to that, Australia will play the World Test Championship final against India. So it is a big 2 months for Australia, June and July, because after that the 100 will take precedence in Australia in August. So that's the reason. Is Stuart Broad's claim merited? You can argue for the fact that yes, COVID did play havoc with their mental health. But at the same time, he is demeaning the fact that Australia performed much better in all aspects, be it bat, be it ball. They were much better than England. And this kind of does not speak very well of Stuart Broad, because at this point in time, I understand that he's been the legend of the game. He's one of the foremost duos in bowling when it comes alongside James Anderson. But this comment that performance, I have written it off as a void series, kind of does not make sense, because Australia played well in conditions that were alien to them. Brisbane had green, it was swinging, yet England tumbled. Hobart was green with the pink ball, they tumbled. It was as English as you can get. Even in Melbourne, you look at it, it was a kind of English conditions, but they crumbled in that as well. So 3 out of 5. It does not speak well of England's preparation at this point in time. But however, with the baseball approach, who knows? England can actually do what they have never done to Australia, whitewash them 5-0. Can happen, may not happen. It all depends how the teams begin on June 16th. But it has been fired. The salvos have been fired. Stuart Broad has come out first with this. Let's hope that England and Australia give us a riveting test series, because remember, 2019 was classic. The last 2 prior to that, in 2017 and 21, it was not. So that is the situation at this point in time. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. We'll be back for more cricketing updates. Tap that bell icon so you know when we go live, and don't forget we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Bye-bye.